this video, I'll be rating the best delis in the pastrami capital of the world, New York City, including a shop that sells 15,000 pounds of pastrami in a single week. But before that, my local guide Greg and I are heading to a place that Anthony Bourdain called the iconic New York meal, and that would be Pastrami Queen. And this is by far the smallest deli on the video. Not many tables, but worth the wait.
It smells so good in here. I'm just looking at that big slab of pastrami there, all that bark on the outside.
Oh wow. This is an icon of the New York culinary scene.
Just layered, piled up like that.
The pastrami is brined, seasoned, dried, and smoked, and then heated and steamed for 24 hours to achieve peak moisture and tenderness.
Nice little bit of fat there, not overwhelming. A little bit of that bark, which I like. I'm just really hungry. I'm so excited to dive into this.
We've been fasting all day. You know what I like about this pastrami? It's not too lean, it's not too fat, it's somewhere in the middle.
I agree there. That caraway seed and the rye bread really adds another layer of flavor here.
Man, this thing's not gonna last long.
Now I'm curious with the mustard.
I think the mustard elevates it.
The mustard does add that bit of saltiness and brininess to it.
It's amazing that a spot like this flies a little bit under the radar, at least by tourists to New York, where you've got the heavyweights like Katz and Second Ave Deli. Pastrami Queen, a little sleeper.
It is. I think it's also because of the location. Like not a lot of tourists coming up to the Upper East Side,
That's fair. I mention this every time we bring up Anthony Bourdain, but he loved this spot. And he always said that this is the one thing New York City does better than any other place on earth. Pastrami sandwich and deli sandwich. One thing you're guaranteed at any deli are the free pickles. Got the half sours here. I never had half sour pickles until I started going to the New York Jewish delis. This is more commonly what you see, standard American pickle.
Out of these two, I do prefer actually the half sour because it tastes a little bit fresher. It tastes more like cucumber. It doesn't overwhelm on the tanginess. I think also when you're eating something heavy and greasy like this, you do need something light to kind of cut through the richness of it.
Yeah. One thing you absolutely must order when you come to a New York Jewish deli, Dr. Brown's celery. This is the classic. If Sprite and ginger ale had a baby. Time for the first ranking of the day. Pastrami Queen. Greg, what do you got?
It's a thin slice pastrami. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the thin slice all the time, depending on how it is. It was good. Nice flavor with the spices on there, with the bark. It was a little oily. The bread was fantastic. Overall, I say I give it a 7.4.
Interesting. Okay. I think that is a great deli sandwich, but I think it could have been a little juicier. I think there could have been a little bit more flavor. I would definitely go back. I'm gonna go with a 7.3. We see eye to eye on this.
Pastrami Queen starts us off at a solid 7.35. With our next stop, a classic on the New York deli scene. Will we get our first contender of the day?
This is Second Ave Deli, and we are not even on Second Ave. This is the first time that both Greg and I will dine here.
Excited.
Oh, this is the originals right here. This is showing like the old Second Ave Yiddish theater district.
This screams just like old surly New York,
So first thing I notice is there's no music playing, people just enjoying their food. This place feels like a classic even though it opened here in 2007. And there's a bit of a sad story. The original owner, Abe Liebewall, was murdered in 1996, and that case is still unsolved.
Wow.
But they're keeping the tradition alive now in Midtown East. Who said a pastrami spot isn't healthy, okay? We got the house salad here, some pickles, some vegetables.
I feel healthy already just looking at it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, this definitely looks different than a pastrami queen.
I see a lot more fat. Not too much, but like I see it more.
And also it's really thinly sliced.
It is.
And you can see a good amount of that pastrami bark hanging out too. First time you, first time me.
Excited.
Let's pop that cherry.
Yeah.
I like what the menu said. You don't need this thing lean. Nice and fatty for me. So juicy, so many flavors. Oof.
Even though it's fatty, it doesn't feel so heavy. We're worried this is gonna fall apart as we eat it. Somehow it's like the structural integrity of this is much better than I thought it would be.
This isn't a word I've typically used for pastrami, but it's buttery.
I think they don't overdo it on the spice. I really taste the flavor of the meat itself here.
I'm gonna put mustard on before I finish this thing. It definitely balances out the flavors better, yeah. I'm feeling such a sense of guilt right now for never having come here before.
Hey, better late than never, right?
That's true.
Better late than never.
It just keeps getting better with every bite.
Just that little bit of brine, not too much, very fresh.
Yeah, well, it's good to have something acidic like this, counter the saltiness of the pastrami. I think this is what you come to New York for an old school spot like this.
What kind of reminds you of like a steakhouse vibe a little bit?
And you do have all the celebrities on the walls. We got Dustin Hoffman here, just overlooking us. I'm walking here. Tell us what movie that's from if you know.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
Need some walking after this. Spot number 3 is walking distance from here, which is great.
Any extra steps you can get.
While pastrami is one of the icons of New York, street food is really one of the city's best kept secrets, and Greg runs the best street food tour in New York. I have had viewers tell me it was the highlight of their trip. I'm gonna put a QR code here. If you wanna book it, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on the tour. Come join me. You know, usually you see black and white cookies, right? These are blue and white cookies. It kind of reminds me of, for all the Seinfeld fans, remember Jerry's eating a black and white cookie? Very pleasant surprise.
I think they have a whole bake section here too.
Are you a Yankee fan?
Yes.
Want to see something fantastic?
Sure.
Remember that?
Oh,
This is terrible.
trolling us.
You're trolling us?
Just listen to that crack. You'll never hear that again.
This is torture.
Listen to
salt
that.
in the wound
Listen to
here.
the crack.
Thanks for rubbing salt in the wound. Appreciate it. Are you a Mets fan?
Dodger.
Dodgers. Okay.
Dodger
Fair
fan.
enough. Congratulations.
All right, you win this one. Time for the rankings. This one's tough.
It
This one's
is.
really tough. I thought that the meat was tender, buttery, good peppery flavor. One of the best pastrami sandwiches I've ever had. I'm gonna go 8.2.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, I like the fatty bits that came off. The meat itself was good quality. Bread was solid. I'm gonna go 8.0.
All right, we're pretty close. We have been pretty close so far.
Yeah.
Second Ave Deli came in with a solid 8.1, but will that score be enough to keep up with some fierce pastrami contenders? Our next stop takes us to a deli that's probably the least known on the list, but don't let that fool you.
Sarge's Deli, open since 1964. This is a local favorite. Sarge's has a great story. It was opened by a retired New York City police sergeant, hence the name Sarge's, and his name just happened to be Abe Katz. No relation to Katz Deli.
Mine is blown.
Of all the contenders in today's video, I think Sarge's has the largest menu. It's pretty much like a diner menu.
It does have a diner vibe to it too.
Wow.
Thank you. The bread looks excellent.
Definitely see some of the bark. Maybe not as much bark as we saw at Second Ave.
And the color is more pink here is what I noticed. That's one thing is the color difference. Yeah, I do see like more of the fat. It's nice layers of fat and lean meat here.
I think this could be the most thinly sliced we've had of the day. Well, I'm excited for this first bite. Ready to go to work. What a dirty business we have. Really juicy.
That's what stood out to me right away.
Yeah.
The juiciness.
The flavors are pretty subtle.
The bread is fantastic on this. And the caraway seeds, it really complements it.
Brown deli mustard. It just melts in your mouth.
Very impressed how juicy it is.
You know, they have a t-shirt outside that says New York's best kept secret, and I kind of have to agree with that in some ways.
It's just got that like very welcoming, relaxed vibe.
What's also incredible about all the spots we're going to today, Sarge's is the newest, 1964. Places like this can stay around as customers are loyal. I'm kind of happy we didn't start here. We would have set the bar very high. The bread is about as good as the pastrami, which you never think you would say at a deli, but it's actually true. I was just admiring how much I was enjoying this. It's such a simple sandwich. Bread, pastrami, mustard. That's it. We just need a little nap before the next spot. This food's putting us to sleep. All right, Greg.
Yeah.
That was interesting. What do you got?
I gotta say right away, I was very impressed with Sarge's. The bread really stood out to me. They get the bread from Orwash's, a local bakery, so it really tastes homemade. It was very juicy, kind of crumbly, like you can see the juices just coming out of the meat. I'm gonna give it 8.7.
Okay. I think that's maybe the best pastrami sandwich I've ever had. Juicy as all heck. I'm going a little higher. I'm going 9.1.
Sarge storms into the lead with an impressive 8.9. Could this unexpected contender actually take the crown? With just one stop left, a name that's practically synonymous with New York and pastrami awaits.
We've got Katz's Deli, New York's oldest deli, open since 1888, been here since 1917. And this is the first time I have not seen a line out the door. This is a New York rite of passage, waiting online to get your pastrami sliced at Katz's. Greg and I made a bold decision. We are having the Katz IPA and Ale.
Cheers to the last stop and one of the most famous sandwiches in the world.
Now, you may see this slogan all around, send the salami to your boy in the army, or you look at the walls and there's all these people holding these like thick sausages. It's because during World War II, the owner had 3 sons in the armed forces, and that's where that slogan started. Often imitated, never duplicated. You look at a Katz pastrami sandwich, and I think you can instantly tell where it comes from.
Absolutely. The first thing that jumps out at you right away is how thickly sliced the meat is. They hand slice it to order.
It feels like a workout right now. We're gonna need a workout after today. That's a different story. Also something unique versus all the other spots. They put the mustard on for you, and they put quite a bit.
Even the way they slice it up and like almost stack it. Look at that. It's almost like a work of art.
This was made for social media before social media even existed. 1888. I'm not necessarily docking them for this, although maybe I am. It's so much meat that this bread can barely hold it together. Like, I'm afraid this is about to fall apart. Now, we never really talked about like what pastrami is. It's the beef navel. It has to be cured in salt water brine for 3 weeks, then rubbed, then smoked, then boiled, then steamed, and then finally carved right in front of you. This masterpiece takes a lot of time. The final contender for best pastrami in New York.
We had to end here with the most famous and the most unique, I would say.
Is yours holding up?
Yeah, I think this one's like very structurally intact. I think more than any other spot, the bark really shows.
Here we go. Wow. First words from me are, it is so thick. Oof. It is by far the thickest piece of pastrami, and there is no contest versus the other ones. I also think it has the smokiest flavor.
I would say so too. I think it has the boldest spice mix to it.
They have a style and they are not gonna move away from it.
No. And it works.
The vibe here, it's very touristy. This is by far the most polarizing place I have ever seen in New York. It seems like people either love this place or love to hate this place. But I need some more bites to really think about the ranking here.
I would say not really the best bread on here. Like the mustard is actually seeping through the bread a bit. But I don't think you're really coming here for the bread. You're really coming here for the meat.
And now your thing's falling apart a little bit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's messy, but I'm not complaining about it. Not that this affects the pastrami rating at all, but this lager is excellent. I think I like the beer as much as the pastrami. I've actually never been here for dinner before. Now you've come here late when there was still 24 hours.
Yeah, like 3 in the morning. It's a whole different vibe here. It's like after drinking crowd.
Party
It's fun.
vibe.
Yeah.
I will say the meat's a little bit tougher in some areas to chew.
There's less fat here. I'm not sure if it's like you can ask for a fattier cut.
Yeah.
But it is a little tougher.
Do you think this is a tourist rite of passage?
Absolutely. Probably the most famous sandwich in the whole city and one of in the whole world. I mean, you see this, you know it's a Katz sandwich.
I think they have the record for most celebrity pictures. I can't think of a place that has more. They must have 1,000.
What I do love is it still has that very old school feel to it.
Yeah.
It's very frozen in time. It brings you back to old school New York.
I think everyone should probably try it at least once in their life. Moment of truth, Greg. Here are my thoughts. I have been here before, as has just about every other New Yorker, and I've always had a hit or miss experience. I really enjoyed the taste. I like the smokiness. I like how thick the pastrami was. There was just something about the texture today. It just didn't have that crumbliness, is that a word?
Yeah.
It didn't have that crumbliness that I would want out of my winner, and it definitely didn't have the juiciness of Sarge's. So I'm gonna give Katz's a 7.9.
I've been to Katz many times. I love the flavor. They have probably the boldest spice mixture, spice blend of any pastrami we had today, but it was not as moist as I'm used to. And usually the meat falls apart a lot, but here it was the bread that was falling apart tonight a lot, which I got to dock it on the bread too. I've had experience here that I would normally give maybe a 9.2. Tonight, I give it 8.1. Sarge's winner for me tonight. It was so juicy. The bread was excellent. It really had the whole package tonight.
The underdog has won.
Here's the final tally. Pastrami Queen takes fourth with a 7.35. Katz's lands in third at 8.0. Second Ave Deli claims the silver with an 8.1. And Sarge's Deli pulls off the stunning upset, coming out on top with an 8.9.
Now that you know about the city's best pastrami spots, in this video we show you 6 Michelin Guide restaurants, and we even rank a surprise dish. Watch this next.